Yo, 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 what's up, you Muppets? And welcome back to my show, where today I'm going to be continuing on with my project. So, in today's episode, we're going to build the second most important component in my project, which is the spaceships of my spaceship game. Alright? So, first things first, though, I really want to change some of this shit up because it looks ungodly. So the first thing I want to do is just get rid of these cubes because this is just annoying. Right. And I'm going to go into my assets folder and I'm going to import some of my own like custom creations. Look at that. Doesn't it look amazing? But I'd rather have this in an empty game object because reasons. Now you're probably asking me why the hell am I doing this? It's purely because sometimes geometry that you import gets a little weirded out when it comes to its directions. So if you make a game-to-game object, you make it a child, then it helps it out. All right, there we go. That's a crate. I'm going to give it a object tag, and for shits and giggles, we are then going to save it as item. And we're going to just throw it in there. Notice how it makes it blue. Now means it's a prefab, which means that it's a prefabricated object. It means that it's shit. You know, I actually don't know. It just means that you can throw it into the level multiple times, like cloning it. All right, so we're just gonna make a couple of more of those. Drag them out. Where's the other one? There we go. Yeah, that's right, they don't have colliders, do they? They do not have colliders. Yo, what's up, man? See how all these variables all messed up? That is because that is what the geometry comes in as. It's very annoying. So we create empty game objects and child them under them, like so. That way you can edit the parent as if it was the object itself, and everything kind of just falls in line. Look, watch, if I edit the parent, which we're going to do now, it edits itself, which is just it's for convenience. And there we go. Now that we've got that made, let's bring in our spaceship. We're gonna have to move some of these out the way though, because ooh, I want to center this back on to the center stage. There we go. Right, assets folder, assets, the Nebuchadnezzar. What a beautiful thing this is. What a beautiful ship this is. I made her myself in 15 minutes in Blender. It's a good representation of a white box ship. It's cute. I like it. Okay. The Nebuchadnezzar needs to be centered. Let's go there. And the Nebuchadnezzar needs to be in a empty game object. Let's call this Nope, there we go. Nebuchadnezzar. It's silly, but it's fine. It just needs to prove a point. Okay. And with that done, we're gonna go and go to assets again, game objects. We're gonna create a new file called ships. This is where all our ships will go to once we've done creating them. And we're gonna create a custom ship script here. C# and call ships script. Jesus, my eyes need to get checked out. And we're gonna get this one's name. C. Create a new folder. And we're gonna throw the Nebuchadnezzar into there. Great. Now the Nebuchadnezzar is a prefab. Awesome. I want to add the ship script to this as well. So we're going to type in here ship script. There we go, ship script or whatever. Alrighty. Now the first thing we're going to need to do is to tell the ship where to go. And for that, we're going to have to edit the player script again and shoot out a laser and say, listen, at a certain distance, make something happen. And then the ship will go there. All right, let's get going with that. Okay, so for our first thing, we're going to have to quickly go into the player script. Let's edit some stuff. And if you remember from the previous video, I thought I would add something here, but now I'm actually going to do it. First things first, I want to add a header. I think that's how you, nope, there we go, that's how you add a header. Now a header is an attribute that basically creates like a bold font in the inspector work. So there's nothing there at the moment. But if I go header, type this in, and I go player ship public game object player ship. Okay, so well now you can see that boom, I've got this lovely little header here at the top. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff like spaces, and you can change how variables are displayed and all kinds of jazz. It's actually pretty sick. So what I'm doing here, override, is just I'm overriding the saved prefab that I have of the player. Okay, so first things first, what I want to do is, okay, so I know I've started doing this. All right, so we're gonna go out one here, open up this, right, player ship and the subscript. Now, first thing we need to do is tell the player how to send something out. So the ship needs to know something though, and that is to set navigation, right? Yeah. So public void set navigation. Okay, so bam. And that's going to require I can do a game object, or I can just do a vector 3. I'm going to do a game object for now, because because then I can make it with something with a halo effect, and you can actually see it in the distance. Alright, and then I will come back and edit that later. Right, so the first thing I want to do here is I want to ship commands. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is called void ship. Oh, come on. Nah. And that's not going to require anything. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a raycast again, and we're going to just do some weird math with that. So the first thing we do is go raycast hit, and we're going to call this ray endpoint, I guess. I don't really think this is necessary, but this is usually what happens. And then we're going to go ray, just keep it R, just call it R for short. And that will equal main. Do I have a main camera set up here? Do I? I do not. But I have saved it. Um, I will say get component camera controls. Alright, so what I've done here is again just normal stuff, created a raycast, called it R, and what it does is it just shoots a laser beam from the camera to where the mouse pointer is on the screen. Later on when this game is started, being developed for Android and iOS, which is the intention, that'll be where the finger tapping is, and I'll have to just augment this appropriately, but that's fine. That's something we'll do at a later date. So now we just go, now we have to basically do some math, and that is figuring out the vector, the third dimensional vector that is the end of this ray. And yeah, so, and that just requires doing a little bit of weird math here for a second. So first things first, we're going to do is create a vector 3, if I can spell correctly, and call this endpoint. There we go. Is equal to r dot origin plus all right, so at this next point, what I need to do is now establish how long that raycast needs to go out for before it stops and goes, right, here's where you need to go. So I kind of plan on building, to a degree, a patrol system in the long term for this. So I'm going to call it something like navigation segment distance. So but we actually need to create that. So that will be a float. So let's go here. Why did I say health settings? What? Okay, ship settings. And not even settings, mate, just ship. Yeah, no, that needs to be a public because you need to be able to change it. Float. There we go. Float. What else? What else? What else? Oh yes, and we're gonna call this nav sec dist. Just navigational section disk or segment disk. Oh no, not sec. Sorry, seg. Anyway, and I can edit this at any time. Though I'm probably going to make it equal to about 500. No, man. Nav seg dist. Right, there we go. All right, so in theory, it takes the beginning point of that raycast, shoots it out, and pluses its direction plus that extra 500 miles, and that's how it gets the end of that raycast. And then what I do is I create then the raycast. So, well, no, I don't, but I go player ship dot get components in that of the ship script. There we go. And then we launch its ability of we tell it to go right. So remember that thing we built, what did I call it? I called it set navigation. Right, okay, there we go. Set navigation. And then the vector 3 will be our endpoint here. So end. Oh yes, and I still want to do something else real quick here. I want to do F. Nope. And just throw all of this up into there. But what I want to type in here is, hang on, I've got a thing open here for the site, just for this specific occasion. If not, event system, where is it? There we go. Dot current dot. I've actually got a Google thing here for this specific if statement, because this is a very, very niche thing. What this basically says is that don't shoot a raycast out if the mouse, if the cursor is or one's touch input is over UI. That can get annoying very quickly. Is pointer over game object. There we go. And then we're going to end with parentheses. Okay, I can close that now. Alright, cool. So my endpoint string, that's because that's endpoint dot. It's asking for a game object. So what I want to do is I'm then going to go public game object nav point, and I'm going to exit, not exit, sorry, put it there. Those of you with OCD will know why I just did that. And we're going to go new, no, instantiate nav point. What else? It's transform parent. Nope. Nope. Its position is endpoint. And its rotation. And then we're going to say it's equal to our transform. Starts position really doesn't matter. Transform, sorry, dot rotation. Okay, cool. So that just means that when it spawns into the world, then it'll be at that endpoint. It's spawning in the nav point game object, and it'll be the rotation of the character, which its rotation actually doesn't matter, but for the sake of not getting thrown an error, I have to put the rotation in there. And then I'm going to go here, nav point, transform, position. Okay, so what's going to happen now is that I'm going to come back here. I'm going to click on my player, and it's going to say, right, nav seg, this actually needs to be 500. That must always be apply all. Player ship is the Nebuchadnezzar. The nav point is something I need to create. So miscellaneous folder. And then here we'll create. Okay, let's create an empty game object in reality. Right. I'm gonna bring it over here. Give a new name. Nav point. It's great. Delete that. Open up nav point. And what else are we going to do? We're going to add a halo. Oh, what happened there? There we go. So that's what a halo looks like. It's just a giant ball of blur. What's cool is we can change its color. For the sake of this, I'm going to change it nice and blue. And when we bring it into the world, that's what it should look like. Okay, it shouldn't be that size. Oh my! Something seems a little wrong here. No. Nebuchadnezzar is out of sorts. Lied. Okay. Nav point, that's fine. So now that the nav point is a prefab, I can have it just sitting in the project section and not actually have it in the world, but I can spawn it in. I need to just connect the dots here because technically this has any reason to fire off. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm also going to put this over here. So that's going to be set ship nav. Actually, I want to have a little bit more functionality to this, but I'll add that later. And by what I mean by the functionality I want to add to this is that instead of just clicking once, just double clicking, because sometimes players might misclick, and you don't want the fucking ship going off in different directions when you make a misclick. That can be super annoying. But just to see that it is working, I will test it out here. Oh my. It's not working. Okay. This seems to have an issue. It is actually required. It's a tricky thing because this is to do with UIs and canvases and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not there just yet. But this needs to stay here. That's the thing. In fact, actually, let's put it all the way at the bottom. I don't want this causing a problem, but it does need to be here. It's probably because I don't have a canvas activated over the camera at the moment. Oh, the nav points are spawning. You can see them spawning at the distance. I just can't see them. Maybe if I make it 50. Whoa. Okay, they are spawning, but I can't see them. What the hell? That is uber annoying. Oh, wow. There they are. Okay. Brightly in the night. Okay. Right. Okay, so we got that working. And the next step is to get the ship to align into it and move towards it. So let's get on with that then. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to get the ship to align to our new nav point, as it were, so that it starts heading in that direction. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a look at script. All right, so let's get that started with. First thing we want to do is add navigation to the player ship. And then what we want to do is we actually want to open this up. Hopefully the player script is there, the ship script, and we've got the navigation on the side there. Right, I actually want to move this over to the navigation. This is going to cause problems with the player script because it's like, bruh, you moved it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to just navigation. There we go. And then we're going to, this is the ship script. It doesn't actually need to do anything for the time being, so it's kind of just going to be there. Right, now, first thing we need to do is create a native void where we go private void, void. This is just look at okay. Now that I think about it, actually, we're gonna do some editing here for a few seconds. Instead of the player creating a nav point, we're gonna do end point here. We're gonna take this from player, give it to the ship, tell it, yo, you do this, we're gonna tell the player, listen, you're not responsible for the nav point. The ship is. Now the ship can make its own beacons. This is a vector. Let's get vector 3. It's going to be called end point. There we go. Just make that a capital. Right, so it's going to feed it, and it's going to instantiate. It's going to do everything that we expect it to do. Right. And we're going to make another game object here called view. Now let's call it NP. We know what it is. UNP. Right, first things first is we're going to go in. This is something cool you can do. UNP is equal to. Great. Now we're going to go. What are we going to do? Go vector. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at the saved code I had from the previous project, just so I understand what's going on. Well, so I can kind of see what I'm doing. Because otherwise I'd be rebuilding this from scratch and it would take so much time. No, I hadn't written one either. Okay, so we're minusing these two from each other. This will give us a direction in time space. And then we're going to tell its quaternions, which are its rotational angles. We're going to call this R for short. So the D there is for directions. The R here is for rotation, is equal to quaternions dot look rotation. Nope. The D. I don't know why I did that. Fucking hell. Okay. And then we're gonna go transform dot rotation. What? No. Rotation equals quaternion dot linear interpretation, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go transform dot rotation as point A, and point B will be R. It's our new location, our new direction that we want to go for. And then it's going to ask for a time, in which case I will go time dot fixed delta time. We want this to happen nicely. Right, okay, cool. So actually, I'm going to go game object face actually going to go like this, face towards object. So you're probably asking, why the hell would I do that if I had it right the first time? And that's the thing is, what if you want your ship to face towards another object? Then what? So, like, what if it's standing still and you're like, I want you to face it? Because at some point you might get a bit of an advantage on people if you do that. This way, it just keeps that all from happening. You know, it just keeps it happening. Let's see. Okay, this is getting weirded out. Alright. And now all we do is we go look at and we're going to go to new MP just for what's up. Hang on. X. There we go. Sorry, I was giving me problems with that. New NP equals new nav point. Probably ask me why am I needing to tell myself that? Trust me, commenting is essential. It may not look like much now, but when this becomes like 300 lines of code or 3,000, these comments help a lot. Okay. Go. And that should be all that's necessary. No, I think this is going to go very wrong, but we can test it out anyway. Oh, that's right. I forgot to put it in there. Miscellaneous nav points needs to go into the there. Should that actually even be then? No, that shouldn't. That should not be a thing. That should not be public. I'm pretty sure I told you to get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. I'm just saving the prefabs as I get them. Right, so this probably won't work because I've got no way of linking it. You see, it'll work as long as I touch the button. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Easy fix. And that is to go to update and go if new NP equals not equals null. Set navigation. No. We're going to make this is just a command. This will be movement. These void movement movement, which this will be X, V, and movement will always be something that is acted upon. Right. And okay, this could actually be done a lot better, but let's just see if it works. There we go. Our spaceship is now moving towards where we click. It's such a pity though that we can't see the halo effect. Okay, I actually want this to be over here. And then movement can be just update. Okay, so well, that takes care of that, so we can swipe that off our list. And I think the next thing we're going to do is actually getting the spaceship to move in that general direction. Before I forget, actually I should do something, because I just realized that if we keep on creating nav points, it'll just keep on spawning. So what we're going to have to do quickly is we're going to have to tell the game to delete the previous nav point if we want to create a new one. So if if new NP is not equal to null, if there's something in there, then we delete, destroy new MP, and then we create the new one. Else just create it. And there we go. Okay, so you can't really see this at the close up. Let me just change this here to 50, which I think it should be. Apply all. You see how it creates a new one. And you're probably waiting, hey, where did that cross come from? Well, while editing this video, I discovered that the new way in which the rendering happens, I think it's because I'm making this for an Android project, you can't actually see the halo effect from a far distance, which is really annoying because it really embodied the whole idea of an empty space that you just have to occupy. So now I have to deal with this while having an actual game object there, but you know what, I'll figure something out. I'll come up with something nice to put instead, because right now what I'm using is the constructor prefab, and it seems to be weirding out. But anyway, that's fine. It works for the time being. All right, next thing on my list is, again, like I said earlier, moving the spaceship there. Okay, so it was around about this point that I actually figured that my mic had stopped working while I was editing this video. So for the rest of the video, I will be narrating. Okay, so this next part that I did, I effectively just created a float called speed. This would go towards later on influencing the movement speed of the ship. I then typed to transform and translate, which is another form of getting something to move in C# and the Unity engine. I typed in that it's moving forward, and then I would go ahead and times this forward speed by the speed that I set and time. So first I type in here time.delta time, and then I would later on times it by speed. For the sake of maximizing an endpoint when it comes to speed, I made a variable called max speed. This would later on be the variable that changes over time. And then I would say that speed is actually equal, can only be equal to between 0 and max speed. I'm using a method here called mathf.clamp. It clamps a variable between 2 points, between 2 values. So it can't exceed or become lesser than the parameters specified. And then I just say, right, speed will just generally increase by a certain amount over time. Sorry, not over time, every frame. And then for efficiency's sake, I really just copy and paste that into the else area below and swap out the plus equals to a minus equals. This is for slowing down and stopping. Then I create a method called stop ship, which basically causes all of this to just stop happening. And that is done by simply deleting the new nav point, or new NP as I called it here. Once all this is done, I spend a large amount of time off camera customizing my ship. I eventually get around to testing it, and it works out just fine. Everything seems to be in order. I do mess around with some of the variables and values a bit so that it's more smooth and more of an organic experience. But by the end, it all ends up working out just well, just fine. And that is that. Thank you for watching.